Hey, today we're going to talk about how to sing in falsetto. Now, first of all, I think it's quite important to know what is falsetto. Falsetto it's not just high notes, it's using your high notes in a way that creating your high notes in a way that uses the very surface of your vocal cords. Maybe someone stuck a camera down someone and actually proved that, but it's certainly what it feels like. And what that means is it's rather like exchanging a really thick guitar string for a really thin guitar string, in the sense that it naturally produces a higher note with less tension, right? So that, first of all, brings us into a point that I wanted to make to help people create falsetto, in the sense that falsetto is not going to mean straining to get a higher note. It actually, when you're using falsetto, it should feel easier to create that note, because you need less tension, because you have a naturally thinner guitar string, vocal cord, and therefore it's easier to produce those higher notes. The second thing to know about falsetto is that it will have a kind of a thinner and lighter sound, and that's why actually when you compare women producing falsetto with not and using their regular head voice, you'll find they actually sound pretty similar. And the reason for that is women's vocal cords are smaller than men's, so the difference between shaping their vocal cords so they're only using a small portion of them, which is using their normal voice, versus falsetto, which is where you're only using the surface anyway, is not so great. So it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. So what does it feel like when you're producing falsetto? It feels easier, literally, for the same given note. If you're high up, it feels easier. You should think about your range while you're using falsetto, in the sense that sometimes a note can be too low for falsetto. So I've been building up to illustrating the difference for you here. So if we have la, that's using my regular voice, right? La, that's using falsetto. It's actually quite hard to produce a note that low for me in falsetto. How about la? That's my regular voice. That's falsetto. It's getting easier now. It's getting a little bit harder to produce a regular note. You can hear I went a bit nasal there. Now with falsetto. Now the falsetto is getting a little bit easier and a little bit more powerful. My regular range is starting to sound a bit rubbish. I don't know what I'm doing with my vibrato there, but my falsetto is actually starting to sound more powerful. That becomes a lot easier. My regular range just starts to sound all scratchy, and I can make use of that in performance to an extent. But you can see that the falsetto, this is what I'm trying to get across to you, as you get higher, falsetto becomes a relaxation. One of the most important things about falsetto is, although you're probably not going to damage your voice doing it, if you're actually using it, you're not using much of your vocal cords, you're only using the surface, and it's not really an issue so much. But what is an issue is that you don't go around talking like this all day, unless you're Mickey Mouse. So essentially you don't warm up during the day naturally. Like if you talk a lot during the day, you can be like 75%, 90% warmed up to sing, but you won't have used your falsetto, and there could be God knows what phlegm there, and the vocal cords are just not used to moving in that way. So it's good to kind of clear them out and get moving before you start singing, and you'll find like 5 or 10 minutes into singing they really get going. I wonder if I put anything else on my notes here. Yeah, I mean, basically it's the same process as singing in your regular range. It should just feel like a relaxation when you go for those high notes. That's what you're looking for. And it's the same principle that what you're in the business of vibrating vocal cords. So the looser they are, the easier they'll vibrate, the louder note they'll make, you know, the more control you'll have over that note. And the same applies there to falsetto as it does to your regular voice. The things you're looking for in the way that it feels are that it's a relaxation on the higher notes, and also the sound is going to be lighter. You can probably go a long way by just mimicking singers who use their falsetto a lot. Possibly wouldn't try it so much with, say, Prince, though, for example, because he uses the natural gripping in his voice and a lot of kind of growling and stuff, and that's something you superimpose on top. It might have been something that he created naturally, or maybe he could have made a clear note if he'd have wanted to, but it's certainly not how you practice falsetto if it's something you can't do previously, if you see what I mean. I hope that gives you some ideas and hints.